Hello, my intimate intellects. Today, I got a chaotic story to tell you, and it involves the Catholic Church, a pope, and a corpse on trial. But before we get into that, I want you to meet somebody. Just give me a second. Come on, buddy. See if you can get on to the camera. I feel like he's fitting. I can't see you. There you go. He's fitting to be in the video because he's dead. I know he's plastic, but he's dead. And we're gonna put him on trial today. We might do that towards the end of the video, but we'll see how it goes. All right, let's roll the intro. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about the Cadaver Synod of 897 CE, which is probably one of the most unhinged, chaotic, oh my God, times in history for the Catholic Church. And considering, let's move you, let's put you can go. Considering that the Catholic Church has been around for thousands of years, and all the things they had already gone through, this story is complete chaos. Let me get into the story, but I need you to stay with me because it's gonna get confusing. But just stick with it. I guarantee you're gonna find this interesting as well. Picture this. It's 897 CE. Pope Stephen VI was so mad at his predecessor, that means the Pope that came before him, that he put him on trial. At this point, he had been dead for almost 7 to 9 months. Many sources say 7. 7 months at the time. He exhumes him, puts him in full papal clothing. Is that right? Papal clothing. He's exhumed. He puts him in full papal clothing, sits him on a throne in a courtroom, and proceeds to put him on trial. This sounds wild. Ooh. And not only that, dead men can't speak for themselves. So you know what he did? You want to know what he did? I'm going to tell you what he did. He ordered the deacon to stand behind this dead man and basically make up a defense for himself. I could imagine how that went. It's like, excuse me, my holiness, you want me to do what now? The fuck are we doing today? Oh, gosh. Can you imagine that? This is probably what it looked like. Hold on, this is probably what it looked like. Like this. My friend's gonna be with us today. He's gonna be with us today. This is probably what it looked like. Something like this. Could you imagine that smell? He's standing behind this man. What am I supposed to do? Oh God. 7 months. Thank you for your appearance again. He'll probably be showing back up in the video. Again, he's fine. He was found guilty. The dead man. Look, I'm gonna give a pause. I looked up this story and I just couldn't believe the things that went on in this. But he was found guilty. Not only was he found guilty, they stripped him of his papal clothing, cut off 3 of his fingers. The 3 fingers. Cut off 3 of his fingers he used to bless people with. They took his body and threw him in a river. Now, some of you are like, but why would he do this? Why did he do this? Wait a minute, I'm getting to that. Wait, it didn't even tell you the best part. So this guy found him guilty, denounced him of the dead guy, the papal, of his popely holiness, threw him in the river. And then the next pope got on the throne, reversed it, then it was unreversed, and it was unreversed again. And this went on for decades. Sit with that for a moment. Popes reverse. Consider the professionalism popes have, and then we sit up and they set up, and I whatever. The popes of 897 CE. It was beautiful. The Catholic Church was wild. Okay, so to understand why all of this happened, you need to understand what was going on in the 800s. All right, which is formerly known as the Dark Ages in the medieval times. And what was happening with the Catholic Church, which was a mess. It was a mess. I can't get into everything that was messy with the Catholic Church because we'll be here for hours, especially around that time. We'll be here for hours. So back in that time, the Pope wasn't just a political figure. He actually controlled what they called, I guess we call it too, the papal states at the time, which was in central Italy. All right. And which, if you don't know, really didn't make them full. They were in control of the church, but it really made them smack dab in the middle of politics as well. And whoever became Pope at that time was really between who won which territory at the time. It could have been Romans. It could have been an Italian noble family. It could have been anybody who came to power and was like, we don't like that dude. We're going to put our own Pope in. And because of this, popes didn't last very long. In this mess that we're going to get into now, we have 3 popes involved. Firmonius, 891 to 896. He is our corpse star. He was actually a pretty accomplished in the church. People knew him already. He had been bishop. He done missionary work. He crowned emperors. Like he was accomplished. He was established. He had enemies. It was primarily the Spateo family who was in charge at the time. And because he had supported their rivals, it's a big drama. That's our first pope, Pope Firmonius. Our second pope, Pope Boniface. Boniface, he lasted 15 days. Remember I said those days? He lasted 15 days. And he died under mysterious circumstances between the famous Firmonius death and our runner-up, Stephen VI. Let's get into this trial itself. I love this story. Pope Stephen VI ordered Pope Firmonius' body to be dug up, exhumed as one will call it. He had been dead for 7 to 9 months. I think I said that already, but just in case you didn't hear me, he had been dead for 7 to 9 months at this point. Use your imagination to what he looks like. You want me to bring back my friend so you can see what it looks like? Dead. Maybe his head was like that. Dead. He's fine. He's dead. They exhumed him. They put him in full papal clothing, put him on this throne. They put him in fancy robes, all the get up, jewelry, robe, hat. They got that little thing that they hold. Imagine just the Pope in all his glory. They put a corpse, Jesus Christ, in all of this stuff and sat him on a throne in the courtroom. They had a full trial. This wasn't like a quick trial like you watch Law and Order, or short like, oh, you're guilty. And no, this took a while. This took some days. It's ridiculous. They had a whole trial. There was charges, there were testimonies, prosecution, and a defense. Dead man tells no tales, right? Guess not. Now you're probably asking, Diane, what were the charges? He was dead. I know he was dead. Pope Stephen put the charges of Firmonius that he violated canon's law by moving from one bishopric. I said it right. That Firmonius had violated canon law by moving from one bishopric to another. He had been bishop to the Porto before becoming pope. Then he obtained the papacy through ambition and illegally. I don't know how the word ambition made it into a charge and it was like a bad thing, but whatever. Are popes not supposed to have ambition? Third charge, in that he basically committed perjury by violating various church oaths. What oaths? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. So like I said, obviously, a corpse cannot defend himself. And I gave you what happened earlier. This poor deacon had to stand behind the body of Firmonius, who had been dead for 7 to 9 months, and make up some poor defense for this guy. Jesus Christ. I'm pretty sure if the deacon could speak, he'd be like, so this is what we doing today? But all right. And according to sources, oh my goodness, the whole thing was absolutely wild. Stephen was screaming at this corpse of all the charges that he had committed. I'm not good at doing certain skits, but good God, I wish I could. This is my dead guy. Let me get my dead guy. Screaming at the corpse for what he had done before. It's funny now. It's funny now. He's fine. He's dead. They said the whole... He was screaming at the point. He was screaming at this dead body. And not only that, the body had fell down. And this poor deacon who was trying to give a defense for it had to prop him back up and probably try not to vomit at the same time. I'm okay. He fell down. Of course, he's dead. He can't get himself back up, so they had to prop him right back up on the thing, and it was just like, whatever. So, let me finish. The most unhinged part, which I already told you, he was found guilty. Dead man tells no tales. He was found guilty. What was the verdict? All of Ferronius's papal acts, popally acts were null and void. The deacons, the priests that he ordained, no more. They're no longer deacons and priests. They're all null and void. And every decree that he made canceled. The entire popally acts that Ferronius had done were canceled. Then he was stripped down from those beautiful robes. They cut off 3 of his blessing fingers. Why do I keep doing that? They cut off 3 of his blessing fingers. And they threw him in a river. Jesus Christ. You may say, but Diane, that's the end of it, right? No, let me finish. The Roman people were horrified. The people of Rome were horrified. Even for the medieval period, with all the Catholic drama that was going on back then, even they thought, Stephen has gone too far. What is he doing? How are we allowing this? It should have been the question. So what happened after this man was thrown into the river and the Roman people were like, this is just too insane? An earthquake hit and the Pope's church was damaged. And boy, oh boy, the people of Rome was like, God is angry. He is mad at us because of Stephen the Sixth's foolishness of putting an old dead man on trial. They revolted. They revolted, and within months, the Cadaver Synod, that's what it's called, the Cadaver Synod, there was an uprising. Pope the Sixth was seized, thrown in prison, and strangled to death. Not funny. That is not funny. What is going on? Meanwhile, legend has it that Ferronius' body was found by a monk and was given a proper Christian burial. Good for Mr. Little Old Ferronius. May his soul rest in peace. They say his body was found intact. Some sources claim miracles happened when the body was recovered because of course they do. Of course they do. I am not done with the chaos. We had our dead man's trial. We threw that dead man in the river. That dead man's body was recovered. There was an earthquake. Stephen got thrown in jail. He got strangled to death. All is well. Nope, wrong. The next pope, Theodore II, easy name pronounced for me, thank God, lasted 20 days. Like I said, this was a rough period to be a pope. But in those 20 days, he managed to annul the Cadaver Synod, declare all of Ferronius' acts valid again, and give Ferronius' body a proper burial at St. Peter's Basilica. I'm gonna move on. Then Pope John X came along and held his own synod, and he officially condemned the Cadaver Synod and said you can't put dead people on trial anymore. That's what he said. He basically had to create a law that said, hey guys, like, maybe we shouldn't prosecute corpses because apparently that needs to be spelled out. I'm not done. But then, because of church politics, Sergius III, who was on team the Spolit family, like Stephen, because Stephen was on the Spolit family side. Remember, Ferronius wasn't. He was on the rival side. Told you this is a lot. I don't know if I'm telling this story great or not, but if you're still here, I appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. I thank you for still being here with this craziness that I am trying to explain. We're on Pope Sigrius III, all right? There's been a lot of popes. I think we're on the 5th one right now. Anyway, Pope Sigrius, who was on the Spalot team, like Stephen, he became Pope in 904. He reversed the reversal. Diane, what is happening right now? So, there's Pope Feronius. That was the corpse that got put on trial. There's Stephen, there's Theodore, and then there's Sigrius. Feronius thrown into the river. Stephen strangled. We don't know what happened to Theodore. He lasted 20 days. Now we're on Sigrius. So Theodore reversed Stephen's charges, saying, hey, all of the things that Pope Feronius did, they're back on. We're putting them back in. All those priests that you said weren't ordained, they're ordained. Ordained again. Sigrius came in and reversed Theodore's reversal. The Cadaver Synod was valid. Feronius' papacy, his popeliness, was illegitimate, and Stephen was right. Now everyone was confused at this point. Everyone, I'm confused. You're probably confused. Just telling the story, you're gonna go back and be like, who was what now? Yes. What are we doing? Everybody's confused. Everybody's confused. I'm confused. Everybody was like, so was Feronius the Pope or was he not? Because remember, when Stephen was like, everything you did no longer applies, they wrote him out the book. All those bishops, all those priests, and himself was written out of the book. Everybody's confused. Nobody knows if Feronius was a pope or not, and we still are not at the end of this drama. We're still got some more popes to talk about. Stay with me. Stay with me. This went back and forth for decades. It got reversed, unreversed, unreversed, and reversed several more times. So you may say, what eventually happened? So somebody smart enough was like, you know what? I'm done. We're done. We're stopping this. We're done. And eventually the church pretended like the whole thing didn't happen. I'm going to get to that. Everybody said, why did Stephen put a dead man on trial? We don't know. But the historians have thoughts. Political pressure, personal grudge, theological and legal reason, straight up madness. And I'm going to go with straight up madness. Wanna know why? Because the accounts of him screaming at the corpse suggest that he might have not been all there. That's the side I'm going to agree on, and that's the side I'm going to stay on. Even if you had a personal grudge against somebody, why am I digging you up and putting you on trial? As you can guess, this did not look great on the Catholic Church, and the Protestants was like, hey, you got men putting dead guys on trial. I don't think you guys are stable enough to be in charge, which I feel like is a fair argument, but that didn't happen. So the lasting impact became a fascinating historical ordeal. The people couldn't stop talking about it. There were medieval chronicles, historians, even networks depicting that the Cadaver Synod, and it captured people's imagination because it was so bizarre. Think about what happened back then. Think about the medieval times. Think about plagues and famine and the church and the Protestants and the Muslims and Judaism and everything that was going on around that time. Look it up and imagine one of the most powerful religions of the time almost losing their credibility because one idiot decided to put a dead man on trial. After everything that I've just said, the church did get some reform. The general chaos of the period, there was efforts to make the Pope selection process more stable and less subject to the whims of Roman noble families. Didn't totally work, but they tried. And I don't know many people who know this story. And it's insane. And I feel like the church may not want people to know this story. Like, think about the Pope. Like I said, I'm not Catholic. If you are, be Catholic. I'm not denouncing Catholicism. I'm not. But think about the Pope and what he represents and who he is and all of the glory that shines upon the Pope. And then you go down the line and you say, Stephen the Sixth was a madman, and he was a Pope. Now imagine if the Pope today dug up the last Pope, I can't think of his name right now, rest his soul, and stuck him on trial. Yeah, that'll be about the right, is this the right number of months? I don't know. But it's been a while, and he stuck him up and put him in all of his holiness robes, set him on a throne, and put him on trial. Some of y'all be like, yeah, that man's gone mad. Maybe we need to do something else. Anyway, right, ordained was a priest or a bishop, and then Theodore was like, bro, shut up. He is. You have to understand, all those other people were in question too. Like, whose thing do we follow? So there was a lot of illegitimacy. Nobody knew who was a pope at the time. Nobody knew who was a priest and who was actually a bishop. And eventually, when it came down to it, everybody just said, someone said, shut up, put him back in the book. Everybody he ordained was a priest or bishop, and we're done with this. That's basically what happened. That is basically what happened. Everybody shut up, putting him back in the book, and we're just gonna keep going. But anyway, I'm almost done. I am done, basically done. Anyway, look, I just want you to be grateful that the modern legal system generally requires your defense to be alive, and your workplace drama doesn't involve exhuming former co-workers. I'm done. This was a wild ride, and I shortened it down as best I could. I know I had a breakdown around the middle, but reading this full story and trying to piece together everything drove me a little insane. I will put every single source that I found this information in down in my comments, and do your research yourself. And if you have some more heinous, unhinged, chaotic points from history you would love for me to do a video on, I'd ask you to put that in the comments. Thank you. I'll talk to you later.